Nabeel is a medical doctor by training, but then took up a couple of graduate degrees, and one at Duke and the other at Biola, and looking closely at doctoral work now. He's a fine apologist, and you'll be hearing from him in days to come. His book has just been released, called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. It was just released a few days ago. Very powerful story. My name is Ravi Zacharias. My wife Margie and I, we have 3 children and 3 grandchildren. We're based in Atlanta, Georgia, where I've been for 27 years now. We have a Christian apologetic ministry and have apologists based in about 10 countries. And we're really actually evangelists. Apologetics is the seasoning, it's the undergirding, but we are proclaimers of the gospel of Christ in 4 arenas, in the academic, in political, business, and arts, because we believe those are the arenas that really shape our culture. So it's a real honor to be here, and we'd like to be with you all for a little while this morning.
Zacharias, last evening we were at the governor's residence, and he had mentioned to me that he turns down 90% of the requests to speak, and he's still gone most of the year. And so truly grateful to have you here. And so just to kind of start the conversation off this morning, I would like to just kind of pose a question to you, and then I'm also counting on Ed and Jim to throw in some questions as well. But I would just like to hear your perspective on why should pastors particularly have a desire to reach out to elected leaders. Most of the time in our churches we tend to think that politics is dirty and let's leave them to their own devices. But why should a pastor reach out to elected leaders in the political arena, not only here in the United States but worldwide?
You know, biblically, almost all of the changes of culture had the ear of somebody in power. You know, whether it's Esther, whether it's Joseph, Nehemiah, Moses, and fascinatingly, Paul himself said his goal before he finished his work was to get to the household of Caesar. The goal to reach those who are in authority is very important in our lifetime and in our society for several reasons. Number one, many of them lead very lonely lives. They more often hear very loudly and very vociferously from those who don't agree with what they are doing. You in the ministry can appreciate that too. Often the most testy letters we get are those who wish we'd been somewhere else rather than where we are. And so political leadership, whether we agree with them or not in decision, they have a need. They have a need for friendship, they have a need for prayer. And in that friendship and prayer, the most important thing you can give to them is confidentiality and trust, so that their position is not exploited or made vulnerable by opening up their hearts to you. Always respect that privacy. I'm sure you're all aware of that. So fellowship and prayer is what they really need. Secondly, politicians are dealing with law, they are dealing with liberty. Those are the 2 issues at tension all the time. Reconciling liberty with law is America's great theme, as it were. And in the midst of that conflict, you know, we talk about right and left. Very seldom do we talk about up and down. And it is important that those in politics get some good insights into what the Bible actually says about these matters in the privacy of rooms, whether it's the UN or whether it's gubernatorial offices and those associated with them, or all the way up into the highest office of the land. They need counselors, they need those who will pray, and those who can answer their questions well and biblically. I think you can be that instrument, and it is vital. If we don't reach them, we really are abandoning one of the most important arenas of social decision making. It is interesting the tension people feel with politics. And I'll close with this. It's the fact that being a relativistic culture, they don't know where to turn for absolutes anymore. Absolutes are with our feet firmly planted in midair. And if you ask an average person, what is the institution you least trust these days, depending on where they come from, we don't really trust the political arena. And the fascinating thing is, while they say they do not trust the political arena, if you ask them what their values come from, it'll be being politically correct. So the very arena that they will say they don't really completely trust for seductive motives is the very arena they bank on in order to get their directives and their moral reasoning. That's the oxymoronic stance in which we now live. So political leadership needs the voice of good pastors, good Christian thinkers who will understand them, pray for them, and help them navigate through some pretty treacherous terrain.